And we already touched on a few new features that, I'd love to hear your comment on. And yeah, I mean, the first thing I noticed myself on Instagram was this, and we talked about this note thing. I'm like, what is it?
Yeah.
Like I haven't even tried it, but maybe you can just explain like what's the feature? Obviously, how can brands and creator use it? What's the point? Any value we can get from it? Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that.
So Notes is this feature that Instagram launched. I don't know, remember exactly like the actual Notes feature, but it's kind of like AIM status updates. If you remember Instant Messenger from way back, but it's been a feature that Instagram has been investing in more and more, especially as a way to cater to Gen Z and younger audiences. And so slowly been kind of rolling out or expanding the feature. And more recently, it rolled out the ability for people to leave notes on reels and posts. And so what that basically is just the ability to see a post and add a note. So similar to a comment, but it actually, the note is like overlaid over the reel or post. Uh, it's limited characters, but it's supposed to be a kind of quick way to share your thoughts, to share your thoughts on a post. And you can either share that note with your close friends or just your mutual followers. So the only one that can see the note is people that you follow and follow you back, or people on your close friends list. And so it's like in between leaving a public comment and sending a reel or a post to DMs. And what happens when you leave a note on a post, say if we're following each other, I leave a note on a post, you'll see that post in your feed, even though you don't follow that person. So it's another kind of way for Instagram to kind of create these moments where people are sharing and connecting over content. I'm not sure if you've been paying attention over the last couple of weeks or actually a couple of months. Instagram's been so focused on, sharing content and looking at content that's shared through direct messages as a big indicator of, hey, this is content that aligns with our mission, but also content that we want to surface more in the algorithm. And so when it comes to the feature, I think there's some pros and cons to it. When it comes to just like Instagram's mission of bringing people together around content, I think it's a really great, or just another way for people to connect around content. So instead of me sending you a reel through DM, maybe that reel is funny, maybe it's, something influence marketing, maybe it's something that, a place that we travel to or we want to travel. Notes gives you the opportunity to kind of find that middle ground of what I said earlier, where you're not necessarily tagging someone in the public comment. You're not necessarily sending that reel through DMs, but you kind of have this middle ground where you're sharing this piece of content with someone else, and they can also leave a note too. So you kind of go back and forth. So that's kind of the value of it from an everyday user. When it comes to creators, if creators are creating content that people are leaving a lot of notes on, it gives them the ability to reach new people. As I mentioned before, when you leave a note, that piece of content will surface in your followers, so mutual followers feed. So just like kind of recommendations, suggested posts, it's kind of another trigger to share content. And so if I'm a creator that's putting out, funny content, you leave a note on my post, your followers will see that as well. So it's another mechanism for discovery. I've also seen some creators kind of get creative with it. As you imagine, creators always kind of abuse features. Maybe abuse is not the right word, but I've been seeing creators leave notes on their own pieces of content. So a way to kind of serve up their older content, right? And it's kind of smart. And I think that's a good kind of hack if you're adding value to it. So say if I like to hike a lot. Say if I have a photo or a reel from a while back, and maybe I did the hike again, I can leave a note on my piece of comment of like, hey, I did this hike again. I loved it. It's great in the fall. It's great in the summer. That piece of content will be served to people that I follow and follow me back. And another way to get in front of people. And so during the early testing of this feature, I got access earlier through some reps at Instagram. And I noticed that when I was testing out with some of my other accounts, just playing around, I started seeing followers from my primary account start to follow my secondary account that I don't use because of the feature. So that was a great indicator of how that can be great for discovery.
Wow. And from a brand perspective, is it a way for them when they evaluate and look for the creators? Can they see if they are using it, or or if they do a brand collaboration? have you seen an example where they've done smart things to get better reach on their own kind of?
I haven't seen an example in a while, but the way I've been thinking about from brand point of view, there's a couple of different ways you can use it. First of all, if you're partnering with a creator as a brand, leave a note on that post so that gets enhanced discovery. Also, if it adds, value to the post, right? It's another way for you to connect with a creator that you're partnering with. A way to kind of amplify it. You think about when you share a piece of content to stories that you like that's kind of a similar scenario. So you not only connect to that creator by amplifying the content, but also potentially help boost the performance of that content on your behalf. Another interesting aspect is in the context of affiliate codes and promo codes. Similar example, like if I'm and I didn't mention this earlier, but notes disappear after, I think it's 3 days. And so if I'm a brand, and let's use let's stay on the influencer marketing kind of lens. This creator produces a piece of content on my behalf. I can jump in here with a note and say, hey, like anyone that sees this, you now get 20% off for, you get 20% off while this note is live. And that piece of content is going to be shared with the brand's mutual followers. And so that's a way to kind of, again, connect to the creator, but also give some type of exclusive promo code as a brand that can drive conversion to sales. It's kind of in a fun way. Some brands will use like close friends or, have broadcast channels to give out, promo codes and perks. But this is another way to kind of create that engagement in a fun way. And notes expire. So like, it's kind of like not first come, first served, but like get it while it lasts.
That's a cool idea. I love that. But what would you say are there any downsides with like any risk with this? I don't know.
Yeah, I think some of the cons and what I've been seeing on threads and, just what people are saying, creators and everyday users, is that, there's new discovery mechanisms for new creators and content. It also kind of adds to what has been a problem across Instagram for certain people, is that you're seeing less content from the people that you follow. I know some of my followers started to leave notes on the pieces of content, and it's content that I personally, don't care about. And so I started to mute them, not mute them, but mute that aspect. So when they leave notes on pieces of content, I won't see them because it wasn't content that I cared about, as opposed to the content that me and my friends are sharing with each other through DMs. And so that's one aspect too, where like you're getting farther away from seeing content from people you follow. The other aspect is just like, people always kind of, like I said earlier, abuse or gamify these new features, which is, makes sense. Like everyone's searching for discovery. Everyone wants to get in front of people on Instagram. It's hard because more people are creating content. And so, like I said before, I've seen some creators leaving notes on their own content, which is fine if it adds value. But, as a consumer, when I see that, like if it's just, a way for people to game the system and it's not adding any value to my feed, you're going to get a little annoyed with that as well. And then in terms of what other cons, I think just with Instagram, and I love Instagram, and I think when I kind of look at social media updates is like understanding what they're trying to do, right? A lot of times as a creator, as a user, you're thinking so much about what's beneficial to you. I think for Instagram, this makes sense. They want to cater to Gen Z, who's spending a lot more time sharing content in private settings, whether that's DMs or like this new feature. And, a lot of creators and even brands too, or marketers, they're like, why is Instagram releasing this feature? It has nothing to do with what we want. And yeah, but like companies usually have some type of data behind it. There's a reason. And so I think just from releasing a feature that maybe people didn't really ask for in a sense, there's a little bit of pushback, but that's the nature of social media today.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, I think with the data they see, they probably, in the end, their goal is to have as many people as possible active, engaged, and that's always good for brands and influencers. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you have to look at it too, is like, I think a lot of times you look at it as a social media user, it's like, what is valuable to you? But they're looking at what's valuable for the greater user base. And so like, you can't look at it in the vacuum. And yeah, I don't think was it Instagram or any social media platform, it's like hard to win. Like, Instagram's head Adam has a tough job, and I think they've been doing some great things, but like you're never gonna make everyone happy, and I think that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they're a for-profit company.
Exactly. No, I think just looking at the boom, like the TikTok boom, and Instagram is still killing it. I think that's pretty impressive too. Like it's not like people are stop using Instagram, just TikTok.
No.
It's they probably benefit of it too.
Yeah. Well, if you think about when Rails came around, everyone's like, no, no, we want photos and whatnot. Now you have more people that are getting bigger reach and more followers from Reels. And so like uh, with any new feature, people that kind of adapt to it are going to usually benefit. And the people that are stuck on like, what works for them today are probably going to be left behind, which is totally fine. It's no different than business, right? Like where today, like you continue to do what you do, like, you eventually put yourself out of business, or you get put out of business based on things that change where like if you adapt, you have the opportunity to, stay relevant.
Yeah. One update I think was like I noticed I use it so much is what you already mentioned, like the share button, like whatever reel, whenever I see, I share it, and then
Yeah.
eventually I'm like just messaging more on Instagram than other apps. Would you say the overall update with shares? I also noticed it's now public, so you can see how many shares. Like, can you explain a little bit about around that, then how that could help brands and creators out there?
Yeah, of course. Um, Shares is a very important metric for Instagram. It's one of the biggest things I've been keeping, uh, paying attention to. And as you mentioned, Instagram's been testing and launching new features that really push people to share more content through DMs. One of the metric that they haven't rolled out as an official metric, but this idea of sends per reach. And so you think about engagement rate, right? We create content, you're like, oh, I want to have a strong engagement rate, or, I want to have a lot of impressions, but they're really focused on sends per reach, which is basically how often your content's being shared through DMs versus how the people see it. I know that a primary use case for me on Instagram these days is sharing reels with friends and my wife. I'm posting less, but I'm sharing a lot more, especially like funny videos and, as I mentioned before, like for traveling or just, things you wouldn't necessarily comment on public. And I think it's very unique to Instagram versus other platforms. I don't think, people aren't really doing that on Instagram. I mean, TikTok, YouTube doesn't have any messaging capabilities. LinkedIn, Twitter, you're not really spending a ton of time in DM around content. So Instagram's leaning into that. I think that's really a good move because it's something that separates them from other platforms. They have this unique experience. And when you share a piece of content, that's another way for that content to be kind of seen by other people. They have the recommendations, they have Explorer, they have the feed, they have, you can see content based on who you follow. And DMs is like another layer of that. And so there's been a few different upgrades around that from, public shares, right? That came out, probably a few weeks ago or months ago. And that's been something that's been testing and something I've seen even before then. And so now, along with, like count, the comment count, you can also see share count. And it's just another metric for creators and viewers to understand the performance of that content. And if you look at it, sometimes there's not a lot of comments or even a lot of likes, but a piece of content has been shared a lot, which I think is really powerful. If you share a piece of content with someone else, you resonate with it more. Not only like, do you like it, but you like it enough where you want to share it with someone else. And again, it could be something that you connect over, it could be a funny video, but also it could be, when it comes to politics and stuff, something that you make, feel really emotional about. Along with that, it's been testing or rolled out, and I think it might have disappeared, but when you watch a reel, there's a button at the end of the reel that says like, a shared DM button, where like it makes it really easy for you to share that reel through DMs again. So pushing people through that experience. About a week or two ago, someone else discovered, and I think it might be the regional or based on certain regions, that the navigation bar was post creation icon was swapped out with a share icon, which is really interesting, right? And so that's putting the share button front and center. And so again, that's just relaying into what Instagram's trying to create, is this environment where people find content and they want to share with friends and family. And that's, a big signal of how they surface content to people based on how people are connecting and resonating over do these more private experiences.
Yeah. No, I always felt like the kind of focus more and more like connecting with friends, family, compared to like TikTok is more just entertainment.
Yeah, and you'll see like some of the things that TikTok has been doing recently have been a little focused on trying to create a similar scenario. The last year or so, they've expanded their DM capabilities as well, so that there's more people kind of communicating through DMs. I don't know if it'll ever get there because the way that you consume TikTok content is really like entertainment. I don't think I'll ever DM someone on TikTok. Like it's just not part of the experience. It's more like it's more like you get served content and you kind of keep it going. But I think they're trying to do that a little more. YouTube doesn't have any messaging capabilities, but I think there's a big opportunity for them as well.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking about now, if I like something, it's shown that like I like that content piece. If I share now, is it also visible, or is it just the number of share you can see now? Or can you see like, oh, I shared it, like my friends?
No, not yet, but I think that probably could come. And if you think about notes, that's kind of like, that kind of gives you that vibe, or that's kind of a similar scenario, but that would actually be, I think that would be a no-brainer, right? Again, it's social proof. So like, just like, hey, this person I know liked this piece of content. I like this person. Maybe I like this piece of content. This person I know shared this piece of content. They shared it. Maybe I want to share it as well. I think you probably want to have a way to opt in or opt out. I think the whole idea of like DMs is being able to have that privacy. And again, like I know some of the videos that I share with my friends, I wouldn't share publicly, right? Like, they're not necessarily bad, but just, it's just like certain things you say around certain people, you don't actually say around other people. But yeah, I think the notes feature is an iteration of that. And I could see Instagram launching something where it's like, this person shared this video. Why don't you share with a friend as well?
Yeah.
Actually, let me circle back. So, not exactly what you're asking, but another feature I did come across was actually and this is only on one of my accounts. So it's like weird, Instagram tests a lot of the features. Sometimes they exist on one account versus the other. But on my primary account that I don't use, I was testing out uploading the video, a reel, and at the top was a notification of like share this with a friend. And it was my own post, and it was like an easy way to click on it. It pulled up the whole DM experience. And so that just leans more into what we were talking about before about like sharing content, but also like pushing people to share their own content, which is, I don't know if that's the right environment or experience, because you don't want creators to be spamming other people with their content. But maybe they're just testing and trying out different things.
Interesting. Yeah, it kind of become like a Snapchat thing, like just maybe sharing your own reel to like your closest friend, or is that the idea?
Yeah. I think it could be. I think it's just more so like pushing your content to DMs. But yeah, that's a great kind of way to look at it from the Snapchat standpoint. I think when it comes to creators collaborating too, like that could be a use case where the creator posts their content, they share with a group of creators. I mean, I guess that's just a new version of engagement pods. Right? But for the platforms themselves, do they care, right? Any engagement probably is good engagement when you're thinking about who's watching videos, who's liking them.
Yeah. But regarding that, you mentioned something with like a new feature, I guess 1 or 2 months ago, where you can invite collaborators to a post. Like, what is that?
So it's Instagram collabs. It's a feature that's been around for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best features out there, especially when it comes to influencer marketing. And it gives you the ability to co-author a post with someone else. And so when I post a piece of content, I can invite you as a collaborator. If you accept it, that piece of content will be shared to both of our profiles and shared with our followers. The person that is the original author has ownership or controls that piece of content. Like if they delete it, it'll disappear from your feed. They can hide it and whatnot. But it's a feature that I've seen be used a lot, a feature that I recommend a lot when I work with clients or customers for influencer marketing campaigns, because it allows you to tap into your account or other accounts when it comes to sharing content. I think for influencer marketing, if I'm a brand and I work with a creator, it gives me an opportunity to kind of bring our audiences together to make sure that that piece of content gets maximum reach and awareness and engagement. Also, it's a great way to repurpose content in real time. So a lot of times when brands work with creators, they want to get the asset so they can not only run it as paid media, but also, have content for their own organic social channels. And so that's one way to kind of not only get the good reach and engagement, but also streamline some of those processes of repurposing content, since that piece of content is going to also live on a brand's profile.
Yeah.
In terms of updates around that, so before you could only invite a collaborator when you're posting. So it would have to be at the onset of posting that piece of content, which, brings all types of trouble. I've experienced it when I'm running campaigns or guiding campaigns where brand wants us creator to use a collabs feature. They forget, or there's an issue and they post a piece of content and there's no way to go back. And so there's been a slight update in terms of that process. So for Rails, you can now invite collaborators after the fact. So if you have a piece of content today, you can go and invite someone else as a collaborator, after it's been posted. So that's exists for Rails. And then also in the near future, Instagram said that they're going to roll out the ability for you to do it for regular posts. And so whether it's photos or carousels, you'll be able to do that same thing. And I think from a process standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. Sometimes you have issues with the feature. Sometimes brands, forget to tell creators to add them as a collaborator. I also think that opens up some new use cases for creator and brand collaborations. Say you come across a piece of content that's featuring your product as a brand, instead of, like if you like that piece of content, you don't have to necessarily have that creator go and, give them a campaign brief and create a piece of content. You like that. And so you can work it out with the creator, ideally pay them to have them add you as a collaborator. And so that you can add that piece of content to your feed or just be, associated with it.
Yeah.
And so there's different use cases where brands can kind of leverage it for like UGC style campaigns, right. Where content they're coming across, they know they like already. They just want to kind of align or tie themselves more with that piece of content after the fact.
But what is then the typical process here? So if I would run this as an influence marketing campaign, would it be that, I connect with the creators, say, hey, we love you, here's our product, do a post, and later we want to collaborate, like do this collab thing on Instagram. Would I then go in on Instagram, DM them and request that partnership? Or would it be the creator that kind of invites, like what's the process there? Just so
there's a couple of different use cases. So the way that it works best, right? When you're working with creators on influence marketing campaigns, just look at it as a deliverable. Just like they're sharing a piece of content, there's a campaign link that they might add stories. There's other deliverables. And so part of that campaign brief, if you know that you want to use collabs in the campaign, is to, instruct them that invite the brand as a collaborator. I would recommend adding some instructions in that. I think most creators know how to do it today, but for a creator that maybe hasn't leveraged it, you can link out to Instagram's help, or even better, build that into the campaign brief. Really simple. So that, once the creator posts their content, they'll invite the brand as a collaborator. Now that you can do it with Rails after the fact, they can also go back and do it. And so the brand can also, be the one that posts the content and add someone as a collaborator. And so if you look up the different use cases, you have your kind of traditional one where the creator posts the content for campaign, they invite the brand. That's great if in the context of like a traditional sponsored piece of content. That piece of content is going to go first on the creator's page, then the brand's page. That creator, owns that post. They hide it, disappears. But for the most part, they're inviting the brand as a collaborator. That's good for your traditional sponsored piece of content. On the other end, it might make sense for the brand to be the one that invites the creator as a collaborator. One example could be if it's a product launch where you're working with a creator to produce a piece of content that's going to be the hero piece for the product launch. But as a brand, you probably want that piece of content to live on your channel, right? And so you have the creator go produce the piece of content. The creator gives it to the brand. The brand is the one that uploads it on their social media account. They add in the caption. They invite the creator as a collaborator. And that way the brand's social media page is the primary author. it also gets distributed on the creator's page, but the creator doesn't have the liberty to remove it. And if it's a product launch or a product, hero image, you want that to live on the brand's social account. You also want the brand, as a brand, you probably want to be the first one to actually share the product launch and not the creator. Some other use cases, like I talked about with some of the retro, the ability to like go back and add collaborators. I think that could be when you're like kind of a brand that is looking for creators to partner with, and you see a piece of content that checks the box on what you're looking for. Why make a creator create a net new piece of content? Why not just use a piece of content that you like? You might see how it performs already, and that way you can figure out a way to work with that creator, have them invite you as a collaborator after the fact, and ideally pay them for that. So while they didn't produce a piece of content based on a campaign brief, you're still using that piece of content to add to your social, your Instagram account. The nuance, the caveat around that is that from what I see, you're not getting the benefit of that piece of content being shared with your followers unless someone actually goes to your page and sees it. It's not like, at the moment, from what I understand, it's not like once you add that, someone else as a collaborator after the fact, it's not like that piece of content is being served again in the feed. But when it comes to Reels, it's probably not that big of a deal because Reels tend to have a longer, a lifespan. And so, there's opportunities if people see it on your page where it gets more views, engagement, that could kind of spark it or drive more views and engagement over time. So that's like kind of the caveat, but I don't know, based on what they're doing with notes, I could see them probably, building an opportunity where like, if you do a new collaboration, like that piece of content does get shared with the other person's feed, or followers.
But I guess just for a social media person, just be able to find content and just kind of check the box, like now my content piece is done for today, could be nice. I don't have to get so much more views and all. It's more like having a pretty feed too.
Yeah. And then you can put paid media behind it as well. So that's another opportunity, especially when it comes to having a creator add you as a collaborator after the fact, where like you don't get that kind of reach in the feed, but hey, let's put some paid dollars behind it, and that way you get more skill and you get to really target the audience as well.
Yeah, but I mean, you're already testing so much, and you probably, I feel like you know the future a little bit more than me at least. So do you know any upcoming features, not something that you, I don't know, predict, or tell me about that if you have anything you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it. I think Instagram's going to continue to lean into shares and experiences that focus more on that. So making it easier for people to share content, whether it's notifications, whether it's kind of metrics around that. I know Adam Missouri, Instagram's head, was talking about eventually rolling out shares per reach so that creators can actually understand, the metric, how often their content is being shared versus how often seen. And so I think more metrics around that's going to come out in the future, which gives creators and brands another opportunity to understand the audience, understand the performance of content. Sometimes you have content that does really great for, driving likes, driving comments, and now there's kind of this other pillar of like content that's shareable. And depending on what you're looking to accomplish, like you can focus, once you pull out the trends of what type of content does best across those metrics, you can get really strategic about it. In terms of other features, I think AI, I know Meta just rolled out Meta AI, where you can kind of create AI chat box where creators can kind of create chat box themselves. I got a notification. I saw it about a little while ago, and then they made an official announcement. I haven't played around with it yet, but I'll be writing about it in the upcoming newsletter. But AI is like a big thing, and it's a great feature when it comes to like chat boxes and whatnot, and as a way for creators to be able to like skill themselves. I think the issue is that if everyone has a chat box, who's actually communicating with each other, right? Like if I have a chat box and you have a chat box and our chat box is communicating with each other, like, what are we doing? You miss that kind of human aspect. And like, it's kind of like when I call for like to make an appointment or something, like it, fed an AI kind of recorded voice of like, press this number to reach out. And I'm like, I get it. It makes sense. But I'm also like, I just want to talk to a human, right? Like, what I'm trying to say is not going to filter through like the AI or the pre-recorded messaging. Um, and so, yeah, I think more stuff around sharing content, AI. What else? I think those two the big ones. More ways for creators and brands to partner together. Streams, been working on this marketplace for a while. I think there's a lot of opportunity to improve that. Just from like better brands, from better experiences. One of the really interesting features I'm excited about, and as someone that built up paid media from my 9-to-5 job and that offering, and really figured out what paid media means for influencer marketing, is that the creative marketplace, I don't know if it launched it, but they were testing the ability for basically Meta to tell you, hey, this piece of branded content, this piece of sponsored content from your creative partner is best to amplify as paid media ads. And so today, paid media specialists kind of have to be subjective. They might have some factors. They might have kind of a breakdown of how they choose what content they amplify. But I'm excited about the opportunity for Meta to make paid media, when it comes to influencer marketing, just collaborations more data backed in terms of finding the right creator, but also being able to find the right piece of content to amplify and get that reach and scale.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I think now also with TikTok Shop, I think they feel the pressure to, like, we have to come up with more ways, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll ever go back to like Instagram was big on the whole shopping experience, and they got rid of the tabs and, a lot of the storefront stuff. I don't know if they'll go back to that. I think when it comes to like shopping and commerce, what they're doing is seems to be taking more of an approach of like, let's, bring creators and brands together for the experience, but we're not going to directly play a part where, we're building an affiliate program. Like I think they got rid of that. And yeah, just leaning more into like connecting people over content and that aspect, which I think is much bigger user base or pool of people that's interested in like who actually wants to shop on social media.
I think so too. But wow, this was great. A great update. I mean, you know a lot, so I will definitely link your newsletter in the description.
Awesome.
So you hopefully get more subscribers. But I honestly think like I will read it too now because I need these updates. It was super nice having you on. I mean, thanks for sharing all of this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome. I love talking about it. Thanks for the great questions. And yeah, whether it's this or the newsletter, hopefully people find value in it. And my whole goal and everything is to, me dive into the news and everything and pull out the trends and really make it valuable for people, like creators, marketers, operators, founders, social media managers, and share actionable insights so you can know how to actually leverage these updates and what they mean for you, as opposed to just, seeing that a platform release a new update and not knowing what it really means or how to actually use it in your strategy.
No, I love it.